All right, for more, let's welcome in Kansas Senator, member of the Budget Committee, Roger Marshall. Great to see you this morning, Senator. So you've said in the past it's time to pass the president's agenda to lower taxes. And while a huge victory for the president today, what hurdles does this bill hit in the Senate?
Well, first of all, just a big congratulations to Speaker Mike Johnson, to the House, to President Trump. I've been saying all along that he's the best closer in the game, and he did another great job getting the deal closed over there. When I think about the House and the Senate, I would look at it like this. The House would be like a cup of coffee. It's clear to the top, just steaming over. But the Senate is the saucer underneath that coffee cup. The Senate is the saucer. So now we need to go back through that bill with a fine-tooth comb and make it better. I think there's opportunities in Medicaid to make that bill better, to make sure that we strengthen it, that we preserve it for those who need it most. We want to make sure that those senior citizens that are in nursing homes are taken care of, and that they would never be jeopardized, that their Medicaid would never be jeopardized. People with disabilities, we want to make sure that they would never be jeopardized as well. Children, we want to make sure that they have Medicaid, those that need it as well. So we need to take this bill, we need to make it better, and probably the one thing I would just add here is the number one concern that most of us have up here long term is the national debt. So we think that there's an opportunity in this bill that we can do a little bit better job addressing the national debt.
Yeah, Senator, when you look to see how close this thing was and the hurdles that it faced getting through the House of Representatives, passing with only a one-vote margin, do you worry at all that any changes the Senate makes might unravel that carefully crafted coalition that got this thing through the House?
Well, look, I think that is absolutely part of the equation, and that was certainly the plea from Speaker Johnson when he came over and visited us on Wednesday. I get that. But I think that we have an obligation to take their bill and to make it better. And I just don't know how these people that have voted for it now could vote against it if we make some minor tweaks to it as well. I just don't think that they want to see a tax hike go on to any Americans. Look, this bill is going to save the average family $7,000, $8,000 in a year very easily. It may be well over $1,000 a month the average American family is going to save. And then if on the back end of that we can address the national debt, I still think that we'll get their vote.
And I know you mentioned Medicaid earlier, and while this bill aims to lower waste, fraud, and abuse, we know that all Democrats have been pushing this big narrative that the bill will just cut Medicaid and everyone's in trouble. What's your response to that?
Well, we're here to protect, preserve, to strengthen Medicaid. Medicaid spending's went up 50% in 5 years. So we want to make sure that we preserve it for those who need it the most. Again, our focus is protecting senior citizens, especially if they're in a nursing home. 40% of people in nursing homes are on Medicaid, so we need to protect it for them. We need to protect it for people on disabilities, children. But there's a large group of people. There's 7 million men, healthy men, that are not working right now, working age men in this country that aren't working. A lot of them are on Medicaid, so let's help them find a job. A job is still the best safety net out there. Many of these blue states are manipulating loopholes. They're giving Medicaid to illegal aliens, and people back home in Kansas are paying for it. So that's not right. We think that there's an opportunity to make Medicaid even better.
Yeah, Senator, I want to switch gears here a little bit. Obviously, earlier this week, the world was shocked to hear that former President Joe Biden was diagnosed with stage 4 prostate cancer. And while everyone really wishes him and his family the best as they work through this treatment, the questions are now being asked about, well, who knew what and when? You don't go from a clean bill of health to stage 4 cancer in about a year. You're a medical doctor. What do you think about what we are now learning, and what questions do you want answered from the former White House?
Right. Well, certainly, like you mentioned, we wouldn't wish cancer on anybody. We wish President Biden the very, very best here. But it is next to impossible for this type of cancer, a prostate cancer, to metastasize in less than 2 years. Typically, it's more like 5 to 10 years from diagnosis till the time that it metastasizes. So something is just rotten in Denmark, as they say. But this is just one more tale of the story of Joe Biden, his family, his administration lying to America. They lied to us about about Russia, Russia, Russia. They lied to us about Hunter's laptop. They lied about all things COVID. This is the next lie. You know, this announcement is it's just too coincidental. It's like it's made for TV, a cheap TV movie in the evening, that you just can't make this stuff up, that they would release it just as the Hur report comes out, and we get to hear that entire communication there between the FBI and President Biden, as well as a book coming out. And if anybody listens to that tape between her and Joe Biden, you would understand, my gosh, this person is losing it mentally. He really doesn't remember anything after 2015. You know, this is my fear. My fear is that the last chapter of this book on Joe Biden, 6 months from now, he could well be totally mentally incapacitated. And they're going to say, oh, it was the prostate cancer metastasized to his brain, when really it's end stage of Alzheimer's, with all due respect. So I think the lie continues, and we'll see what the books end up writing when it's all done and said with.
Be very interesting to see what Congress does. This is now at least the fourth president I can think of that's actively hidden their medical condition from the people and from Congress. Senator Roger Marshall, thank you for joining us this morning.